Hello and welcome. My name is Tobias Dornbusch from Ferncast. And we are at the lovely Hamburg Open trade fair today, and I will introduce you to our software, aixtream. aixtream is a software for high-quality audio transmission of every kind, and it is available both as a software installation or even virtualization if you prefer, but also in ready-made plug-and-play hardware boxes, just as you prefer and just as your application requires. What we always consider the core or one of the most important features of aixtream is what we call the pipe concept, as you can see here in the pipes menu. Now, what is a pipe? A pipe is essentially the entire connection from the source to finish, that is the sink, visualized as a pipe, as a line of objects. We found this idea very important because we often felt that the connection configuration, as you know, in competitor products and so on, it's often very complex, requires a lot of clicks, a lot of diving into different menus, and we wanted to avoid that, and that is how we came to the idea of the pipe menu. So, as I said, it visualizes the entire connection as a pipe. So, just to give you a very simple example, let's say you have a digital audio input, that is, into your system. And you would like to give it out as an Opus encoded stream, and it should go out via RTP. And now you're almost done. A detailed configuration can be performed by clicking on the respective element in the list, like the channels here in the audio, the bit rate for the Opus encoder or whichever encoder you're using currently, as well as the target address here in the RTP element. As you can also see, we offer a huge variety of different sinks and sources, and they're all cross-compatible, so no matter how your audio comes in and no matter how you want it to go out, we can make it work. And we also offer some additional audio processing features, obviously level meters and volume control if you require these for the connection. Metadata inserter is relevant for streaming, for example, and some others. You can also see some other example pipes of essentially an audio file is taken from that is saved on the system. There's a level meter and a volume control added, and it is given out through an audio port, headphones in this case. Another important aspect of the aixtream user interface is the dashboard. The dashboard is a highly customizable menu where you can put exactly the widgets, that is elements, that you want to use and that are necessary for your application. Ideally, you can configure it in such a way that you can control everything relevant to your application over one menu, that is the dashboard here. Just to give you an example, this would be an empty dashboard here. And here you can open a customizer where you can choose which widgets to include in your specific dashboard, and then they will be available. I prepared one already, just to give you an example of how one could look. We have a level meter for the pipes that you saw earlier, the recording pipes, volume control as well, a widget for the simple handling of zip calls, which may be relevant, a connection overview that shows all pipes that are created on the system with their current status, and you can even start and stop them from here. So it's a very quick overview, very compact, and system health, so you know if the system is in order and there are no problems. We have also a phone book, which is integrated with the zip calls widget, actually. So any entries you make here for zip contacts you might have, or even RTP contacts, can be referenced in the zip calls widget. Then we have the archive, which is simply where saved audio recordings and so on are stored, as well as applets. Now, what are applets? Applets are a specific feature we offer. You can't see one here right now since they're a bit more complex to prepare, but essentially they allow you to create if-then scripts. So for example, you can say, if pipe A loses connection for whatever reason, start pipe B. Or you can say, if a specific error message is encountered, send a mail to the administrator so he's immediately informed. Then we have a monitoring tab, which is of course a more detailed overview of the system health, including the interface, the network interfaces, and any packet losses that might be happening. And of course, general settings. The most interesting aspect of the general settings is probably our very deep user role configuration, which allows you to set the rights and privileges of each user group in great detail. For example, as you can see, this entire list of functions within the user interface, you can, for each one of them, decide whether a user should be allowed to create these things, edit them, see them, or even be able to delete them. As you can see here, for example, with the AES67 tab. And you can do this with anything that is possible within the user interface. Also, in the Users tab here, you can determine that a specific user can only use the dashboard. This is perhaps especially relevant if, for example, you're a broadcaster and you're obviously an administrator or the chief technician or something of the sort, but you have layman people like reporters who have to handle the user interface, in which case you can prepare a dashboard for them that is limited to the most basic things that they need to be able to do, maybe like just starting and stopping a stream, for example, and set so here, so that they can't accidentally do any misconfigurations or something. The SIP accounts can obviously be configured. We also have call profiles, which allow you to essentially set a priority for SIP calls, which encoders should be used in a given situation until both you as the sender and the receiver agree on a codec. So for example, if, say, you really want to transmit via AAC, but the receiving side says, nah, we don't take AAC, then in this case it would suggest Opus at 64 kbits. Do you take that? Nah, still nothing? Well, maybe MP3. And this goes on until both sides agree on a codec and the transmission can proceed. Next we have the licenses menu. Since aixtream is highly scalable, it is very important to modularize the licenses, and this is how we do it. So for example, let's say your current application only requires, let's say, 5 AAC codecs, but in the future it is growing and now you need 10, for example. So now you can simply pay for the difference, you pay for the additional 5 AAC codecs, you get a new license file from us, you load it in, and immediately they are available. And this goes with everything you can see here. We also have an extensive log for logging error messages, information, general system information, including very extensive search and filtering features, and of course an option to export it so you can send it to our support if there's a problem, for example. You can configure the audio card in more detail. This is not necessarily necessary for most applications, but if you do need it, it is available. Network settings can of course be configured, including NTP servers, DHCP, or even an SSH access if that is necessary. And we have, of course, very general system settings, like the system clock and so on. You can also update the system via this menu directly through the internet, but we also have an option to allow you to update via USB, for example. So yes, that is a quick overview of aixtream. I really hope I made it interesting for you, and we would really love to hear from you about it. Thank you.